In the span of just 2 years, Israel carried out one of the most sweeping targeted killing campaigns in modern history. From the tunnels beneath Gaza, to a guest house in Tehran, to underground bunkers in Beirut, to the streets of Sana'a, Yemen, more than 40 senior leaders of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps were hunted down and eliminated. It was a campaign of precision, intelligence, and relentless pursuit, one that reshaped the balance of power across the entire Middle East. This is the story of how it happened. On October 7, 2023, Hamas launched the deadliest attack on Israeli soil in the country's history. Fighters breached the Gaza border fence and poured into southern Israel. Over 1,200 people were killed: soldiers, civilians, families, and partygoers at a music festival. More than 250 others were taken hostage and dragged back into Gaza. The attack, which Hamas called Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, was orchestrated primarily by 2 men: Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas in Gaza, and Mohammed Deif, the shadowy military commander of Hamas's armed wing, the Izz ad-Din al-Qassam brigades. Israel's response was immediate and overwhelming. A ground and air campaign was launched in Gaza, but alongside the military offensive, Israel's intelligence services, the Mossad, the Shin Bet, and military intelligence, set in motion a parallel campaign, a systematic hunt for every leader involved in planning, supporting, or executing the October 7th massacre. Mossad chief David Barnea publicly vowed that Israel was committed to settling accounts with everyone involved. He invoked the precedent of Israel's manhunt after the 1972 Munich Olympics massacre, a campaign that lasted decades. "It will take time," Barnea said, "but we will put our hands on them wherever they are." Shin Bet chief Ronan Bar was even more blunt. In leaked recordings, he stated that Israel would kill Hamas leaders in every location: in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Turkey, in Qatar, everyone. The hunt had begun. First strikes, late 2023. The campaign began almost immediately. Just 10 days after the October 7th attack, on October 17, 2023, Israel killed Ayman Nofal, a senior member of Hamas's General Military Council and a key brigade commander in the Qassam brigades. He was one of the first major figures eliminated by airstrike inside Gaza. Later that month, on October 19th, Jamila Ash-Shanti, the first woman ever to join Hamas's political bureau, was killed. On October 31st, Ibrahim Biari, commander of Hamas's Jabaliyah battalion, was also eliminated. In November, Ahmed Abu Gandour, commander of the Northern Gaza Brigade, was targeted and killed. These early strikes sent a message. No one in the Hamas command structure was safe. Saleh al-Aruri, January 2024. But the campaign extended far beyond Gaza's borders. On January 2, 2024, an Israeli drone struck a Hamas office in the Dahiyeh suburb of southern Beirut, Lebanon. The target was Saleh al-Aruri, the deputy political leader of Hamas and a co-founder of the Qassam brigades. Aruri had served as a critical liaison between Hamas and Hezbollah. He was killed, along with 2 other Hamas officials. It was the first time Israel killed a senior Hamas leader abroad since October 7th. Marwan Issa, March 2024. In March 2024, Marwan Issa, the deputy commander of the Hamas military wing in Gaza and reportedly one of the key planners of October 7th, was killed in an Israeli airstrike on the Nuseirat refugee camp. Mohammed Deif, July 2024. Then came one of the most significant strikes. On July 13, 2024, Israel launched a massive airstrike on a displacement camp near Khan Yunis in southern Gaza. The target was Mohammed Deif, the founder of the Qassam brigades, and the man considered, alongside Sinwar, to be the architect of October 7th. For decades, Deif had been Israel's most wanted man, surviving multiple previous assassination attempts. This time, he did not survive. Hamas denied his death for months, but eventually confirmed it. Israel's defense minister at the time described Deif as the Osama bin Laden of Gaza. Ismail Haniyeh, July 2024. Incredibly, just 2 weeks later, Israel pulled off perhaps its most audacious operation yet. On July 31, 2024, Ismail Haniyeh, the head of Hamas's political bureau and the group's most internationally visible leader, was killed by an explosion in a government guest house in Tehran, Iran. He had been in the Iranian capital to attend the inauguration of Iran's new president. The bomb had reportedly been smuggled into the guest house in advance. The operation stunned the world. It was carried out over 1,000 miles from Israel's borders, deep inside Iranian territory. Yahya Sinwar, October 2024. Finally, on October 16, 2024, 1 year and 9 days after October 7th, Yahya Sinwar himself was killed. Unlike the surgical assassinations of other leaders, Sinwar died in a firefight. Israeli troops encountered him during operations in Gaza, and he was killed in combat. He was found with a weapon in his hand. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called it the beginning of the day after Hamas. Mohammed Sinwar, May 2025. Even after Yahya Sinwar's death, the campaign continued. In May 2025, Mohammed Sinwar, Yahya's brother and his successor as military commander, was killed in an Israeli strike on a tunnel beneath a hospital in Khan Yunis. Known as the Shadow, Mohammed had survived at least 6 prior assassination attempts over 20 years, and in August 2025, Abu Obaida, the longtime military spokesman of the Qassam Brigades and one of the most recognizable voices of Hamas, was also eliminated. While Hamas was being dismantled, Israel was also engaged in an escalating conflict with Hezbollah, the powerful Iran-backed militia based in Lebanon. Since October 8, 2023, Hezbollah had been firing rockets and drones into northern Israel in solidarity with Hamas, displacing tens of thousands of Israeli civilians. For months, Israel calibrated its response, targeting Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon while avoiding Beirut and the group's top leadership. That restraint ended in the summer of 2024. On July 30, 2024, 1 day before the Haniyeh assassination in Tehran, Israel launched an airstrike on a residential building in the Dahiyeh suburb of Beirut. The target was Fuad Shukr, Hezbollah's most senior military commander and a close advisor to the group's leader, Hassan Nasrallah. Shukr had been a founding member of Hezbollah in the early 1980s and was accused by the United States of helping plan the 1983 truck bombing of the U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut that killed 241 American service members. He was the first high-ranking Hezbollah leader to be killed by Israel in this conflict. Then, in mid-September, came one of the most extraordinary intelligence operations in modern warfare. On September 17th and 18th, 2024, hundreds of pagers and walkie-talkies used by Hezbollah fighters simultaneously exploded across Lebanon and parts of Syria. More than 30 people were killed and over 3,000 were injured. The devices had been compromised in a sophisticated cyber and sabotage operation attributed to Israel. The attacks sent shockwaves through Hezbollah's ranks, shattering trust in their communications. Just 2 days later, on September 20th, Israel struck again, this time targeting a meeting of senior commanders from Hezbollah's elite Radwan Special Forces unit in southern Beirut. Ibrahim Aqil, the Radwan unit's commander and a member of Hezbollah's Jihad Council, was killed along with approximately 10 other commanders. Aqil had been linked to the 1983 U.S. Embassy bombing in Beirut. The U.S. had placed a $7 million bounty on his head. 1 week later, Israel delivered what many consider the single most consequential strike of the entire campaign. On September 27, 2024, Israeli F-15 fighter jets dropped over 80 bombs on a secret underground Hezbollah headquarters, located 60 feet below residential buildings in the Dahiyeh suburb of Beirut. The target was Hassan Nasrallah himself, the leader and one of the founders of Hezbollah. who had commanded the organization for 32 years. Nasrallah was killed, along with Ali Karaki, the commander of Hezbollah's southern front, and Abbas Nilfarushan, the deputy commander of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and the Quds Force commander in Lebanon. The strike eliminated the head of the most powerful non-state military force in the Middle East. The succession crisis that followed lasted only days. Hashem Safieddin, Nasrallah's cousin and the man widely expected to replace him, was killed in another Israeli airstrike in Beirut on October 3rd. Around 25 other Hezbollah leaders were reportedly killed in the same strike. Safieddin's body was not found for weeks. The deputy head of Hezbollah's Central Council, Nabil Kauk, had been killed just a day after Nasrallah. In total, Israeli strikes killed most of Hezbollah's senior military leadership and hundreds of fighters. Analysts described it as the most devastating blow to the organization in its entire 40-year history. The conflict ultimately led to a ceasefire agreement in November 2024 that required Hezbollah to withdraw its forces north of the Litani River. Israel's campaign did not stop at the proxy organizations. It extended to their patron state, Iran, Iranian IRGC commanders. As early as December 2023, Israel killed Razi Mousavi, a senior IRGC general in Syria. In April 2024, Mohammed Reza Zahedi, the commander of the Quds Force, was eliminated in Damascus. And in June 2025, during a 12-day war between Israel and Iran, Hossein Salami, the head of the entire Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and a longtime confidant of Supreme Leader Khamenei, was killed. In the same month, Saeed Izzadi, an Iranian commander responsible for coordinating with Hamas, was killed in the city of Qom, Iran. Operation Epic Fury, the death of Khamenei. But the most dramatic escalation came on February 28, 2026, just days ago. The United States and Israel launched a massive joint military operation against Iran, codenamed Operation Epic Fury. The operation targeted military and governmental sites across Iran. The primary target was Iran's supreme leader himself, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Israeli jets dropped 30 bombs on Khamenei's compound in Tehran, which was severely damaged. Sources told multiple outlets that the CIA had tracked Khamenei's movements for months and learned that a meeting of senior officials was scheduled. The strikes were timed to coincide with that meeting. Iranian state media confirmed Khamenei's death. The government declared 40 days of mourning. Several other top officials were also killed, including the commander of the Revolutionary Guard, Iran's defense minister, and the chief of army staff. U.S. President Donald Trump stated that Khamenei was one of the most evil people in history and that he could not escape American intelligence and tracking systems. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said the operation would create the conditions for the brave Iranian people to take their destiny into their own hands. Houthi leadership, August 2025. Israel also struck at the Houthis in Yemen. In August 2025, Israeli airstrikes on Sana'a, the Yemeni capital, killed Houthi Prime Minister Ahmed al-Rahawi, Chief of Staff Mohammed al-Gamari, and Defense Minister Mohammed al-Atifi. The strikes were retaliation for persistent Houthi missile and drone attacks on Israel, including one that struck near Israel's main international airport. By early 2026, the scope of Israel's targeted killing campaign was staggering. Most of Hamas's military and political leadership had been eliminated. Hezbollah's top tier was almost entirely wiped out. Senior IRGC commanders were dead. Iran's supreme leader was dead. Multiple Houthi officials had been killed. Supporters of the campaign pointed to the restoration of Israeli deterrence, which had been shattered on October 7th. The decapitation of enemy organizations degraded their ability to plan and execute operations. The ceasefire in Lebanon was seen as a direct consequence of Hezbollah's crippled leadership. But critics raised serious questions. The strike that killed Mohammed Deif also reportedly killed around 90 Palestinian civilians. The broader Gaza campaign has caused enormous civilian casualties and a catastrophic humanitarian crisis. Diplomatic fallout from operations in Iran, Qatar, and Lebanon strained relationships. And while leaders were killed, the organizations themselves survived. As multiple analysts noted, Hamas continues to exist. Hezbollah is weakened but not destroyed. And the killing of Khamenei has created massive regional instability. There is also a historical pattern to consider. Israel has conducted targeted killings for decades, and while individual leaders can be replaced, the campaigns often succeed in disrupting and degrading organizations for years. The question that remains is whether these tactical victories can be translated into lasting strategic outcomes. A stable Gaza, a secure northern border, and a Middle East where the cycle of violence finally breaks. What began on October 7, 2023, as the darkest day in Israel's history, triggered one of the most extensive and far-reaching targeted killing campaigns the world has ever seen. Over the course of 2 years, Israel methodically tracked and eliminated the leaders of its most powerful enemies, across 6 countries and 3 continents. The Middle East will be living with the consequences of this campaign for years, perhaps decades to come. If you found this informative, please like, subscribe, and share. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on what these events mean for the future of the region. And as always, stay informed, stay critical, and stay curious.